Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't look like it's gone off to the best of starts because the latency seems to be shit. But nevertheless, I'll persevere and hope that you can hear me and see me. Hi, my name is Lunar C, host of the Halcyon Show. How are you doing? I'm going to close this now because I don't know if y'all noticed, it's gotten really hot the last few days, and my winter-loving ass has not caught up with it yet. I've been running throughout the course of the winter, and I've only just stopped running because of an injury. So yeah, it's been fun trying to readapt and rehabilitate myself with this heat. So nevertheless, let's get down to business, shall we? Thank you very much for joining me on this live stream live. If you're with me now, if you're not and you catch this later, it's been a pleasure seeing you. I hope you're well. I thought I'd hop on to do two things. Number one, promote some stuff, because I'm bad at that. And secondly, I had something on my mind, and it's one of those situations where I just feel like talking about it. It'll become clear as we get to that. So first things first, let's talk about it. What a lineup. Let's talk. So Cammy's going to be on next week, Wednesday, assuming all goes well. General gist of that show is it is an interview, but I'm given to understand that young Cammy is quite interested in going backwards and forwards about the topic of battle rap. So I'm interested to see what it is that he wants to discuss and what he wants to share opinions about. Still a bit of a layman when it comes to battle rap, although today, funnily enough, I was going through just a ton of old now, because they're 7 or 8 years old, but lots of old Don't Flop battles, some of the original Prem battles, and it's crazy how much I've still not seen. Like, I'd consider myself a pretty decent fan of battle rap, and yet there were some battles I'd never seen before, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I've never seen this. So the one that sticks out for me is Pat Stay versus Tony D. That was a really interesting battle, especially in the comment section, where people are saying in equal measure each man got robbed. I suppose that was the temperature of the water in battle rap during back in the day, rather than just enjoying the fact that you've got Pat Stay versus Tony D happening. Jesus Christ. Some of the old Raptor stuff, like his battle against Soul, and then his battle against Tony D. What else did I see? Quill versus Soul. There's another one I'm forgetting now, but like, it's just crazy how far back a lot of this stuff goes. So for Cammy, I know I'm gonna have to brush up. I'm gonna have to go into some of the more recent stuff. I'm gonna have to make sure I'm actually following and paying attention to some of the nuances of the scene if I'm gonna have any hopes of being able to hold a candle to having a conversation with him. Who else? Gosh, so many names. One would think I'm doing something well over here, having guests on of this caliber. Enough self-deprecation. P. Solja. I went to see P. Solja recently live up in Sheffield, and he fucking killed it. But while I was there, we got to talking, and he mentioned that he would love to sit down and discuss his album. So what we're going to do is he's going to send me a playlist, and I'm going to listen to it as I would do for any other interview where I try and sample someone's work and try and make sure that I'm as acquainted with what they're talking about, why they're talking about it, how they've done it as I possibly can be. And then we're going to dissect it. I'm going to ask him what he was thinking, what was he doing. And I've not done an album review like that before in my entire YouTube run. So I'm really excited to try that out as a kind of something different as far as like having something to talk about. And likely we'll get to talking about battle rap as well, since he made his return against, I think it was Caveman recently, and he's kind of, I feel like I can encourage him back onto the path, but P. Solja will not be rushed. He's his own man, and he knows his own mind, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Bobby Rex, let's talk about Bobby Rex for a second, because not only is he's become kind of a really good friend of mine. We talk intermittently, but when we do, it's a real exchange. Like, I have to make notes about what he says in his messages to me, because I want to make sure I cover it all, because he gives so much analysis and yet gives it in such a direct way. He packs so much into every sentence that he says. And one of the reasons I've been so excited to talk to him for so long is, like, you see snippets of it on Twitter, and obviously he's an immaculate performer, and he's got such a presence to him. But what you guys don't see is just how thoughtful, and he's a proper Renaissance man. Like, he's self-deprecating in the sense that he almost likes to make people think he is not as unbelievably intelligent as he is, and he's just this very visceral person. He is that. Like I joked on Twitter, Bobby's the kind of person that wakes up and chooses no violence today. Violence is his default setting, and I love that about him, because there's nothing pretentious, there's nothing forcible, there's nothing fake, there's no added sugar with Bobby. He's just a straight shooter, and I love when, even if he says something I categorically disagree with, it's unfiltered. He's not tempered his opinion to try and make it make sense to me, because that wasn't his goal. His goal is always just to express himself and speak his mind. And I love that about Bobby. And I'm gonna love not talking to him about that, because you can't analyze someone like, why are you so direct? Like, that's how he is. But I am interested to find out how he's applied that, and how that's meant success, and where in other ways maybe it's not done him as well. Because it's all with everybody, we have attributes that do us well and that don't. And I'd love to discuss his thoughts about his career, going backwards, and then obviously his career going forwards, and a bunch of other stuff. And I think we're just going to have a really fun conversation, me and Bobby. If it's anything like our personal conversations, it'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait for you guys to see that. And then the one you all are probably curious about, Lunar C. So Lunar C is an interesting one, because I, like many of you, thought that was never going to happen. And for not just because of we've had our animosity, which has been completely squashed now, and the fact that I really respect how he's handled things since. Like, he's been really cool to me personally, what with everything that's been going on, and he didn't have to. Like, he kind of mentioned, like, if you want to do it, we'll do it. And I knew he was apprehensive, because he probably wasn't keen on coming on a show where he was going to get quizzed, because I think that's the case with a lot of guys. Maybe he's come around to it, maybe he hasn't. I'm curious to find out what he thinks. But what I'm most excited about is the fact that in my research for Lunar C, it's always interesting to try and find an angle with my guests. And with Lunar C, I think I found one, because I've had the benefit of being able to watch a lot of interviews with him. He's done a lot of them. Relatively speaking, I should say. He's done a few, not so recently, but he's done I think he did 2 or 3 podcasts last year. Right around the time we were having our thing, which is, hey, part of me hopes he did it just to go, do you know what? Fuck that guy. I'm going to go on every other podcast but his. Fuck him. Like, that would kind of make me laugh. But I think that's just, it was coincidental to his return. He returned, I think it was 2 months, 3 months after that to battle. I think it was Marv 1, and it was in America as well. I can't wait to talk to him about that. But, like, I think I found a common thread in his work that no one has talked about. No one has touched on it. No one has emulated it. No one's explored it. And I think that's going to be interesting, because he'll either shoot it down and say it's absolutely wrong, or I think you're about to see something in Lunar C you have never seen before. And so obviously we'll talk battle rap. Obviously we'll talk music. But Lunar is similar to Bobby in the sense that the more you learn about him, and the more you start to chip away at the veneer of the personality that's been fabricated around him, not by him necessarily, but by the people that hold him up as this idol and savior of battle rap, he's more and more interesting. He's not more and more fallible as you go deeper. And I just think that it's going to make for an interesting chat. Now, whether or not I'm right, you're just going to have to tune in to find out. When any of these, by the way, are going to happen, with the exception of Cammy. Cammy will be next Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. But you'll just have to wait and see. You know as much as I do at this point. I'm pretty much ready to go with all 3 guys. I've done my research. I'm reasonably confident that they're all going to go through without a hitch. Excuse me. I'm going to get comfy. Sorry. I'm now... How do I look? I suppose. What you don't see is my bed is right here, so it makes it really tempting to just kick my feet up and just sort of lean back. I never do it in my interviews, though. I always try and sit up straight and pay attention to what they're saying by looking at them while I'm talking. In this, though, man, it's kind of important to get comfy. Charlie, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome, sir. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the comment. I just hope you're not here to stir stuff up as you always do. Anyways, with and like I say, any of the guests, I'll let you know as and when I get a yes from people that I approach. There's not too many more I'm working on that. I don't know if I should say something or not about one that I was asked about the other day. It's the obvious one, which is Shotty again. Someone, a guest. It was Ryan, actually. So, no, it wasn't. It was Hot Take Highless. And I was asked, so I posted, like, I'm going to share a guest with you. And it was, I bet it's something that rhymes with a gun from Manchester. Let's be clear about the situation there. It's not changed. I'm still blocked by... The list is extensive, Charlie. Extensive, and you know what you did. Shotty still blocked me. Koj has still blocked me. Quill has still blocked me. Let me think. There's a few others. I'm forgetting the others. Of those three, though, there's only really one that I feel bad about and I would want to make contact with and try and make some inroads, and that's Quill. Quill did my show and didn't have to. Quill and me had some exchanges behind the scenes, and like I say, that's why I think I took the thing a bit bad, because I considered him kind of more of a friend just because we'd been cool. But in fairness to him, I was a bit off the handle when I was criticizing everybody, and I lumped him in. This is kind of something that Stro was when I talked to him about this whole situation after the fact. He made this clear that because I talked about everything as a bubble, like he felt that I might have made it seem like I was lumping everybody into everything that I was saying. And Quill was mentioning that. I take that point to a certain degree. I kind of trust my audience to be able to make distinctions. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know where, if I stop a sentence and then refer to someone else, it doesn't necessarily track backwards. With Quill in particular, I felt bad because, again, really all he did was express an opinion that differed from mine. Yeah, that's fair. But with Shotty, that guy has no need, want, nor desire to talk to me ever again. And that's fine. It's a shame, but just to put this to rest for one last time for anyone that was hoping for a turnaround on this, Tom Quebe. I don't know who Tom Quebe is. Who's that? Is it? Wait a minute, Tom. I feel like wait. Do I know that name? Oh, I can't remember. Was this the comment about I'm a discount battle rap resume or something? In fact, no, that's what it is, isn't it? That's what that is in reference to, that I'm a discount battle rap resume, which I won't lie, that popped me. That made me laugh so fucking hard, because here's the thing. Battle rap resume, when you look at that channel and what it represents, is what I think people see me as a parallel to, and we are nothing alike. He is, yeah, there he is. Okay. Tom Quebe. That's good. I like that. That's funny. That's really good. Tom Quebe. I wonder how he feels about that. I bet he's pissed off about that. He's sitting there going, the fuck? I've put years of effort, studied bars relentlessly. I have made all these networking relationships. I covered the scene when it was hot, baby. And now you're comparing me to some dipshit from the Midlands who went on a rant for 2 hours. How dare you? That's how I'd feel if I was him, because we are not in the same league. He deserves infinitely more respect in regards to what his contribution to battle rap in the UK has been than I ever will. I really like his work, and I'd love to talk to him at some point, but I think he suffers from the same thing I would. I don't think either one of us would stand up to an interview all that well, because we're both interviewers, and it's that thing where we'd both probably want to try and take over the conversation in terms of its direction. But as far as that, who said that? Because whoever said that deserves a medal. That's fucking hilarious. That is so funny. I've just noticed the camera angle, so I'm just going to tilt this down a little bit, because I think like that makes me more in frame. So hopefully that's a bit better. That's hilarious though. So whoever said that, fair play. That's pretty funny. I really like that. Although I feel bad for Tom because again, I don't recall him having beef with anybody. So him being linked in with me, cheeky is what it is. Plus, I would argue that whenever I've had a battle rap guest on, battle rap I focused on to a degree, but I always touch on everything else that they're doing, dude. Like, again, with Lunar, when Lunar comes on, we'll talk about battle rap, but I'm frankly more interested to talk about his music career. I'm also interested to talk about the fact that he's an artist, and I'm interested to talk about his motivations, inspirations, his method, his process, all the rest of this sort of stuff. We'll talk about battle rap, of course, but I am aware that I'm the least qualified person to grill someone on bars and credibility and wins and losses and what the fans really want, all the rest of this sort of stuff. Because I am just a fan. I'm not a student, I'm not an expert, I'm not a historian or any of that sort of stuff. What I am is a catching strays like a cat lady. But yeah, it's not my place to grill these guys about battle rap. It's my place to explore them as performers, as artists, as intellectuals. I don't know how much Tom places on that. Which is why, by the way, again, frankly, that's why all of the shotty stuff when that was happening was hilarious to me, because I think people thought it was my way of trying to gain cachet in battle rap. No, it was because Shotty Horror is a unique character in terms of his relationship with battle rap and music, and now in live promotion and performance, and his relationship with promoters of a sort and with labels and stuff like that. There was a lot of untouched material to go into with him that, again, with Lunar and what I've discovered about him, or at least I believe I've discovered about him, it's stuff that's never been spoken about. And with all due respect to people that want to ask Lunar, well, when are you going to battle? Will you ever battle Shotty? How many times are you going to battle before you retire? What was it? Don't flop. What was it like back in... I don't know if that's interesting beyond just having the conversation on a personal basis. I wouldn't mind having that conversation with him, but probably off camera, because with all due respect to you, my audience, I'm not offering you anything new with any of that stuff. And this is a problem that I see with a lot of podcasts at the moment. They're not really offering you, the audience, anything. They seem to be more interested in sitting down and having a fun conversation with someone that they want to be their friend, rather than treating them as a guest and the focal point of your show. That's fine. There's room for everything, but I am thinking that it's skewing more towards that as a general rule of thumb rather than the exception. I think my show is becoming the exception now, where it seems to me that when I have someone on, Kruger's a great example. Let me talk about Kruger for a second, because Kruger came on last Friday. Let me just move this again. There you go. Kruger came on last Friday, and Kruger was a great guest, not least of which... Sorry. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. Kruger came on, and Kruger was great because I think Kruger is a more considered guest than I'd had in a while. That guy really took the time to think about what he wanted to say and said it. Carried me through a lot of that interview as well. I don't think I asked the best of questions of someone like Kruger. I was really obsessed with trying to get into the bottom of how the fuck he makes a steamed hams video that I kind of forgot to ask him about some of the aspects of his career that I think, again, a lot of people haven't spoken about. But on another show, I think all they would have focused on is battle rap. And that's fine, except for I am aware that Kruger has an extensive career. Battle rap is just one pillar of his career. It's certainly a significant part. And he deserves his flowers for what he's contributed to it, and the fact that every battle rap up until maybe 2000 and when I don't know when the whole thing kicked off. And again, that's an interesting one. Didn't ask him about that either. Didn't ask him about that because why would I? It's been covered to death. I'm sure if he wants to talk about it, he'll talk about it to someone that he trusts. It's not for me to dig up that sort of stuff. On a personal level, I'd love to, if we could build a relationship over time, I'd love to know what he really felt. Because, again, as a friend at that point, I'd want to know what was going through his mind and how he feels about things. Hylas, you were missed earlier. I referenced you. In fact, yeah, you were the precursor to this, actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's another thing with my guests, Charlie. I will give you my top 3 UK battle rap of all time in a second, but just as far as my the gold bar thing, I try, because I sleuth through my guests' social media, and the reason for that is because I think you can get a gist of what they want to talk about, and I think in any interview it's a give and take. I want to know some stuff, but I want my guest to want to talk about things. And one of the easiest ways of being able to do that is just by paying attention to what they like and giving them a little bit of that. And I think when you do that, you can have a little bit of fun, not at the guest's expense, but certainly you can put the microscope on it for a second to get some ridiculousness out of it. And what I like to do at that point is I like to then let them have the moment. The best example I can probably give for this is Bizzo and Sol. Bizzo, I have an ongoing thing about coffee. I'm just going to keep teasing him until he drinks a cup of coffee, and then he tried one, and then it was formula or granulated or whatever, and I'm like, nah, it's not right. And with Sol, it was the prawn sandwich. He said that prawn sandwiches are the best Tesco meal deal like main you can buy, and I confronted him on it. He's like, Hylas, don't worry, it was fine. It was you saying, suggesting that maybe it was Shotty Horror that was going to be the guest that I hadn't announced, and it was the precursor to all of this chat. But the point is that I like guests to have a little bit of fun on my show, and I don't like having fun by just kind of what I see on other podcasts is just the thing of, so we don't like doing cheesy stuff, but if you had to lose a leg or gain a set of tits, what would you put? And it's like, this is the kind of conversation that can only really be had fun when you are 3 or 4 drinks deep at 4 o'clock in the morning with nothing better on TV than just to have some banter. I feel like when you've got a guest on with such a rich history as some of my guests, like a Kruger, like hopefully a Lunar, like a Bobby, like a P Solja, you've got such a rich vein of history to go into, and such a tapestry of projects that they've worked on and stuff that they've produced. Their personalities, their unique personalities to dive into. Why the fuck would you ask questions like that? It's so dumb and such a waste of time. And I get it can be funny sometimes, but again, I do research a lot, so I see it a lot, and it becomes tedious. That's why I'm asking podcasters, aspiring or otherwise, of the world, enough of the 2 blokes with 2 chairs either side of a stupid ass pun based logo bantering for 2 hours bollocks show. Enough of it. There's literally thousands of millions of them. Do something different. Do something better. Okay? Analyze something. Critique something. Offer a retrospective on something. Do this. Do interviews. Do something. Do you know what? That's a good question. Let me answer the first question first, as far as the top 3 battle rappers, UK battle rappers, because when it comes to Americans, I'm not as, in fact, I'm not anywhere near as educated as I probably need to be to opine on that. But for me, if I'm going to say top 3, probably in order, so 1, 2, 3, Sol, Tony D, and probably Shotty. There's an argument to me, but Shuffle's my favourite. From being gun to my head, Shuffle T is my favourite battle rapper of all time, just because you can tell he loves it. He fucking loves it, and he's so good at it, and he does it in a different way. And yes, I know that he has his critics and all the rest of this sort of stuff, but anytime I see Shuffle T on a card, I'm immediately tempted to buy a ticket. But if I'm looking at it through purely a perspective of who do I think has the longevity of great battles, the number of great battles against great opponents, and a performance style that I think, when I watch it back, every time I see something, like I said, I rewatched the Sol versus Raptor battle earlier, and that battle's classic for a number of different reasons. But again, there's so much buried in that you miss, and you can only catch on rewatches. The same with Tony battles. Tony is so clever with a lot of his stuff. It's crazy how much he gets slept on, and yet he is still revered. So imagine if he was given the credit for everything he ever said. And then you've got Shotty. Shotty is the undisputed all-rounder. Like, he is the performative, the lyrical, the credible power. He's like, if I'm going to equate it to wrestlers for a second, you'll have to forgive me. I apologize in advance. Ric Flair is Soul. Tony D is the Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Brock Lesnar is probably Shotty. Because, I equate it to the... With Shotty, what I find with some battle raps is that they get twisted because of the physical presence of the person. Like, it's the physical threat of the thing, and it's all like... Well, we'll see. I'm seeing some of these comments, and I will come back to the question about daytime TV in a second. But as far as those three, it's subjective. But for me, it goes Soul, Tony D, Shotty Horror, and considering that Shotty Horror's career isn't technically over yet, it still remains to be seen if that maybe shuffles a little bit. I know Tony is not keen on battling a ton more times. Soul, when I've spoken to him, clearly has nothing left to prove in his own mind, so I don't know how many more times he'll battle. I really hope I get to see Tony and Soul battle live before they retire. I really would love that. But I leave it to you guys to debate amongst yourselves. The Rushmore debate is a fun debate, and it will rage on forever, and rightly so. But to come back to Charlie's question, do I think most podcasts are like daytime television? No, I think that someone... It was actually Luke Thomas who was making this point about MMA media, and he was talking about the homogenization of media as a whole. So the algorithms on various social media platforms basically only promote one type of content. And unless you make that one type of content that the algorithm is easy to recognize and promote, you're not going to get promoted. My show, for instance, is probably a good example of that, because I do long format content. I don't censor myself, so I let my guests swear and you know, all the rest of that sort of stuff. And I don't do any real short. I tried doing shorts, but again, the process of trying to find clippable moments of it was beginning to be a bit of a pain in the ass. So I just thought, well, fuck it. Why am I running myself into the ground for this? It just doesn't make any sense. I think podcasts now and just content in general is all geared towards that, and that's a shame because it's the death of creativity. This is stuff that this is a space where people could otherwise express themselves. One of the reasons why I'm interested to talk to Lunar in particular is he is one of those guys that has walked the path less traveled. Shotty is one of those guys that has walked the path less traveled, and I think it's so important. They don't need me to showcase them as stars, as individuals, but I think they do need me to showcase them because I'm the only person that's going to praise them for the fact that they didn't do the easy thing. They didn't do the thing that everyone said, oh, well, this is just the way it's done, so you got to do it. They said, no, fuck that. I want to do it this way. And if it's harder, so be it. But ultimately, I think it's going to pay off in terms of what I want to bring as an artist and as a person. I think podcasters, a lot of them think it's just enough to turn on the camera like this, sit in front of an audience with a friend and rely on their wittiness to carry them through. The problem with that is that sooner or later they're going to say stuff that fucks them up or fucks them over. Prepping is so important. I give advice to people on these live streams, for instance. I'm not a particularly successful live streamer, granted, but I'd like to think that these will hold up to the test of time on a rewatch because I always try and have a point to what I'm talking about. It's not just incoherent ramble. I come on thinking, right, by the end of this live stream, we need to have said this, this, and this. It's not premeditated, it's not written, but I think in terms of having sort of an arc of sorts, okay? And I don't think any of the podcasters have that. I think they come on with topics and then they hit the ball around for a little bit until hopefully one of them says something that they can clip or that's mildly offensive or mildly controversial, so they can turn that into a short as a way of directing people back to the main show, of which there might be 10%. Kruger's a great example of someone that utilizes the social media streams to his advantage. Because if you look on his YouTube channel, his views are not what you would expect from some of the stuff he's made, but then you go to his social media posts and they're in the hundreds of thousands. So there's a guy who really understands how the current algorithm works, whereas I must be honest, I don't care to understand it because I don't think it benefits me in the long run. So it's not that I hate people doing what they do, it's just I get so tired of seeing it over and over again when I see people that could be doing something different and better. To Hylas's point here, Lunar C and Shotty Horror were both in the music industry through the correct channels. They had some buzz, they were picked up by labels, and then they tried doing it their way. Both of them have expressed being exacerbated by that process, and then having produced music independently of labels and having gone on to do their own projects outside of it. Luna's done stand-up, he's done more music, he's getting back into battling, he's also an artist. There's a bunch of other things he's doing. Shotty's now a live promoter, so he's into Premier Battles, he's also into SOC Pro, he's still doing his music, he's producing for other people, he's doing a bunch of other stuff. Both of them seem immensely not only gratified in their work, but just they don't have peers. There's no one that you could look at that says, oh, there's someone who's doing it exactly like Luna. There's someone who's doing it exactly like Shotty. And it's so important to showcase people doing that, because otherwise we all end up doing the same thing. I didn't want to do a lot of stuff in the past because of that. And then I did it, and I always felt like after the fact, when I look back on my body of work on YouTube now, specifically at the stuff I was doing towards the second or third year, man, I would not stand behind that for a second. It's all garbage. And I'm sorry for people that had to sit there and fucking deal with my bullshit for so long before I finally figured out that I need to be doing something that's me and mine. And that's how I hit on the interviews. And even then, you could argue that's somewhat derivative. I mean, that's part of the joke of the, what is it? Tom Quebe, okay? That's part of the joke, is that they see me and think, oh, you're just a knockoff battle rap resume. Well, I understand the comparison, but I disagree with it because we both have different objectives and goals. Tom's goal is to showcase battle rap and battle rappers as battle rappers. That's not my goal. My goal is to showcase creative people. Battle rappers happen to be some of the most creative and interesting people. So why wouldn't I showcase them? As far as Shocks, so Shocks is one, I am aware of him. I just don't know how to get a hold of him. So I'll need to find him on Twitter. And then I'll need to see if there's a mutual connection, and I'll need to see if he's got DMs or an email address, and then I'd need to see if he's interested. This is the thing. This is something I have to struggle with. That my platform is still not. But we ticked over 600 subscribers today, I believe. So that was cool. But at the moment, you know, there are other bigger platforms. Wiretap, I think, is on 700 to 1,000 subscribers. Don't Flop's got a podcast. I think Prem still has a podcast that they do. Infrequently, but they still do it. There's others I'm forgetting. Obviously, you've got London Gen. I think even No Loose Chat. They do some stuff. They do a lot. Obviously, Gus Buff does a lot of his own promotion. But like, again, it's about framing it correctly. It's about selling it to someone and saying, look, this is worth your time. And sometimes that's easier said than done. Censor as well. Censor would be an interesting one. I know he's coming back soon. Again, though, it's one of those things, though, where I don't want to just talk to a person for the sake of it or because they got a name. That's literally never been my mandate. Like, some of the people I've interviewed, I'd never heard of before they were suggested to me. And then when you look into them, you find the angle. It's like, oh, I want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about that. That would be great. I think, and mainly because I know it's something that no one else has spoken to them about. You know what I mean? There are some examples of that, which I won't bore you with now. You've got the playlists are there. You can go back and look at it if you want. But yeah, it's just about finding the right angle. And also if people want it. Like, I think part of the reason that Luna has said that he'll do the show is because he's seen at least a few people say that they'd like to see it. You have no idea how much that helps me. Like, just saying to the people that you want on, hey, I'd love to see you on this guy's show. That does me a big favor when you do that. Because it means something to the people, you know, that they're going to have an audience. I'm excited about some of these ones coming up. I've got to tell you, if no other reason, because on a personal level, I think I'm going to really enjoy talking to them. But nothing beats when an audience is demanding to see it. That's why, for me, the Shotty Horror one is very disappointing because, again, I truly believe that it was a situation that wasn't really my fault. In the sense of if I'd have just had the opportunity to have a conversation with him, it'd have been fine. That's not going to be the case. Wasn't the case. So to kind of wrap this whole segment up, I am nearly 100% sure that will never happen. So I apologize to anyone if at any point in the future I make it sound like it's going to, because that's not what I mean. I just don't see it. I plan to go to a Don't Flop event and a Premier Battle event at the end before the end of the year. But I plan to go as a fan. Like, I'm just going to go to enjoy the events. Previously, I would have liked to have used them as networking opportunities, but frankly, I don't really want to put anyone's nose out of joint anymore. It's not worth it, even if I feel like I'm vindicated all right. So I just want to go and enjoy myself. And I hope if you guys are at the events that you'll take the time to come up to me and say, "Oi, dickbag, good to see you," because it'd be nice to see you. So let's leave the shotty stuff in the past. He doesn't need it, doesn't want it. So as much as I would have loved to have had it, that's it. And frankly, again, where we are with shotty now is how I felt we were with Lunar. It's just that Lunar did the thing that I wanted shotty to do. Just fucking talk to me. And when me and Lunar started talking, turns out Lunar's really sound. Like, Lunar's a really good dude. Like, I wouldn't mind having a beer with the dude now. Like, because we talked and we hashed it out. And it's all good. It's all gravy. So, I don't know. But I just kind of want to put a pin in it because I don't want to disappoint anybody. As little as I do here that would raise excitement. Like the Kruger one, I think people were excited about. And I hope I delivered with that. I really do. Someone asked me about as well. Again, I severely doubt that's going to happen for the same reasons. I don't think he really wants to stand up to much scrutiny, and it would be very, very difficult for me to not ask questions surrounding a lot of stuff that I think he'd take personally. So if you could do me a solid and not ask me about that one as well, that would make things a little less awkward, but we'll see. But as far as shocks and as far as center, okay, here's my promise. As soon as this live stream is done, I will look into both of those gentlemen and see if I can arrange something. It'd be great to start stacking the deck as far as guests is concerned, because I would love to get back into regularly interviewing guys. I think it keeps me sharp. I think it gives you guys something to look forward to as well. So that's that. So yeah, so shocks and censor. I'll put a note down in a minute. Right. So with the disaster. You must be talking about Dizzy Rasta, because not the disaster, right? When you say the show, like, what did you like? What, Nick Cannon's Wildin' Out? Is that what you were talking about? Ant and Deck's Saturday Night Takeaway. That's what you're talking about. It wasn't talking about my who stop. Who's asking who's asking disaster about, hey, this is guy, he's got a name like Grass, and he runs this YouTube channel. He talks to guys, kind of asks, he talks a lot. You want to do that? Who's asking disaster about my show? I need to someone send me that, because not that I'm calling you a liar. I'm just saying that what the content of your statement I find extremely dubious, and I'm not sure I'm willing to believe you. Disaster would be an interesting one. I am aware of him. Again, as far as American battle rappers go, DNA, Disaster, Arsenal, obviously. Pat Stay, sadly. Let's think. Charlie Clips. Daylight. I suppose Koj counts. Yeah, I don't really know him any more than that, but I am aware of Disaster. Again, if there's a way of getting hold of him and I can find a reason to sell him on coming on, I would not be adverse to that. But I need to see proof of that statement. I need to see proof of that. So yeah, we'll see. I've just seen Charlie's comment about the Epic Battle Royals. Do you know what? Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd are two other guys I would love to have on the show. Obviously, probably never going to happen considering the size of their platform versus mine. But those two dudes, I've been massive fans of for a long time, individually and collectively as the Epic Battle Royals. I love Nice Peter's stuff, like his oh wow, all right. I mean, number one, the idea. So I did ask Soul about a potential return. That's true. If memory serves, though, he poured the cold water on that pretty goddamn quickly. So, okay, all right. I still want to see it. I want to see it. I'm going Ric Flair on the old TNA days. Oh yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it. Where is it? Where is it? Stir IG mentioned Soul. Okay. I'll look into that after the live stream is done. Still, these are all just comments and statements. I feel like further investigation is warranted. But again, that's another interview I would love to do. It would just be a case of just trying to make sure that I can assure him that he's got something to gain by coming on, because I'm going to ask him questions that don't center around, so how'd you get your name? Like, you know, stupid shit like that. And then obviously not then covering the same old stuff that he would have been asked 20,000 times already. But that would be a fucking interesting show. Yeah, that would be interesting. Can I just point out, guys, this is why the the battle rap resume stuff and the Tom stuff is interesting to me. I don't know why anyone would throw me up in conversations like that, because Tom already exists. I feel like he would deserve that interview first. I think he may have even been on. I don't remember seeing one on Battle Rap Resume before, but I think Tom would probably deserve that one first. If Disaster was going to do a UK-based Battle Rap podcast interview, I think Tom deserves it a bit more. But I certainly wouldn't turn it down if it was coming. So yeah, I'll have to look into that after the live stream is done. So that's cool. And again, if you have other suggestions, actually, let me make a note. Actually, while I'm making notes. So then there's Sensor, and then there's Shocks. Because I watched Shocks' battle with Tony D today, and he's something else, man. He'd be a great guest, I feel like. Sensor too. So anyways, that concludes our guest chat, which doesn't leave me a lot of time to talk about the other thing that I was going to talk about. Oh, does he not? Oh, that sucks. Okay. I mean, he still covers, but I mean, I've seen him live on the channel. He had Kruger on not too long ago to discuss Kruger's favorite. Was it 50 battles or 250 battles? I can't remember. And then he also did the top 50 battlers with Cammy as well, I seem to remember. So he's still live in the battle rap sphere. But I didn't know he didn't do interviews. Okay, fair enough. Well, that'll conclude the guest chat. So I hope that satiates what you've got coming up, because I think those 4 guests coming up is fucking insane. The 3 suggestions, I mean, if I can line those up too, that'd be great. So, and I'll tell you what, this is how we'll cap up this section, and then we'll do like a little 5-10 minute section on what else I want to talk about. Seeing as I'm blocked, if someone wants to reach out or ping Quill and say, listen, I apologize for chucking you in with everybody else on the previous live stream. I also appreciate that I've blown up twice in this vein. On both times I reached out to him and probably put him in a spot, and that wasn't cool. I don't care if he unblocks me. I don't care if he messages me afterwards. I'd just like to tell him I'm sorry. So if someone wants to say, hey, Lorne did a live stream, he admitted he was a bit of a dick and he feels bad about it, that'd be fine by me. So there you go. That'll be that. I won't bother with Shotty because there's no fucking point at this point. That's it's like what am I again? Daft cunt. There you are. There you go. So yeah, I gotta be honest. Still don't appreciate being called a daft cunt. To be honest, I think that's still a little heavy-handed considering I did fucking nothing wrong. So yeah, needs to be a slightly different tact for that one to be. And the same with Koj, by the way. Koj's still talking about me in ill tongues. It's like, dude, you've only ever been rude to me. You've literally never said a nice thing about me. And anytime you've spoken about me, you've been super disrespectful, at the very least dismissive. So again, I owe you nothing, and I'd really appreciate it if we just all moved on at this point. Because what's the point? Apparently I'm a nobody anyway, so let's just move on at this point. Anyways, but as far as Quill goes, I always liked Quill. Arsenal fan, good lad. Really, he was really cool to me personally behind the scenes up until a certain point. He's the one I would want to say, hey, listen, dude. Yeah, I probably owe you a beer to say sorry, but alas. That was previous night, previous day, previous life. We move on, hopefully. Who knows? Maybe I'll see them at an event and I'll get stabbed. Who knows? Anyways, let's move on to the final part of the show, where I want to talk about something because it's something that's not unique to me. It's probably going to touch most of your lives at certain points in the next couple of years at least, and that is working in the modern era in the UK. Now, as I'm sure most of you are aware, recently people with disabilities got a giant kick to the nuts because their benefits are going to get smashed or slashed or revoked or whatever. Not only that, but the process of getting a job is going to get exponentially more difficult in the coming years because not only are you more people competing for the same jobs, you're also seeing people's resumes scrutinized in different ways, and ultimately even getting an interview is going to prove to become something that's an art in of itself. I want to talk about it because I've led a kind of a weird career when it comes to my work. I started in a job when I was 16 pushing paperwork at a company that I then stayed for about 6 years, did some call center work, knocked on doors for a little bit, and then I went off and I did 5 or 6, 7 jobs after that in different avenues, came back to the current place that I'm at, worked as a client liaison service person or whatever the fuck that means, and then now I work in IT. Now, because of that, I feel kind of relaxed in terms of my ability to be able to get a job in something going forwards, but I am aware that a lot of people have stuck to the same thing for a long time and that some of their attributes are not immediately apparent to employers. And what I wanted to share is this, in terms of what I think is my success in terms of being able to stay in gainful. I've only ever been unemployed, I think, since I was 16. Accumulatively, I've been unemployed for about 6 weeks in that period of time. So we're coming up to, so not 16 years, 18 years I've been working with maybe a month unemployment in that time. Not in one hit, mind you. There was a period of 2 weeks where I was unemployed, and there was a period of about a month where I was unemployed. I had to sign on both times, and it's one of those, if you've ever signed on before, you'll understand it's one of the dumbest things you could ever fucking have to do, but it is what it is. If you've got a job lined up, obviously, but if you need it, then it's what it's there for. And that's why the benefits thing is such a kick in the nuts to people, because benefits are there to help people. And if there's people that abuse it, you take down the people that are abusing it. You don't take down the system that they're abusing, because the principle behind it should stand on its own merit. But that's a different conversation for another time. What I wanted to talk about, though, is the mantra of it's not what you know, it's who you know. I've got to be honest with you. A lot of the jobs that I got were because of me. My personality, my ability to sell myself, the idea of being able to look someone in the eye and tell them something that's true and sell it to them rather than going in there and trying to fit a mold that they already had predetermined. Doesn't always work, mind you. But one of the things that I find with a lot of people is that they come in with this preconceived notion of what a person is looking for and then try and fit that. I tend to look at my jobs and the interviews that I've gone in for as a sales pitch, not just for me to them, but from them to me. One of the things that in fact, it was Thor, who you might have seen, is he's becoming quite a prominent gaming streamer. He used to work at Blizzard Entertainment as a programmer, designer, whatever, and now he's becoming a prolific streamer. His advice is something I've actually been pontificating for years, which is this idea that you come in, you do an interview, and you make it as much about, well, I don't know if I want your job. I'm here to find out if I want to take your job, not just, oh, I really want it, and gosh golly, I do a great job, sir, and oh, you just need to... No, number one, you tell me how I'd fit in. I want to know you've seen my resume, you've seen my CV, you invited me here. There's already an interest from you, I can tell that. Where do you see me working? What strengths do you see utilizing? Also, what do you think makes a good candidate? I maybe don't fit that. Maybe I don't want to put myself forward if I know what you don't like. What's the culture of the place like? What's the boss like? What's the retention rate like? What would your employees say if I asked them what it's like to work here? Stuff like this. It's about owning the situation. Now, I'm giving this advice because I think it's just a feeling I have, especially in the Midlands where I live. You're going to see a lot of people be made redundant. You're going to see a lot of people losing their jobs. You're going to see a lot of companies merging, consolidating, conglomerating, just because it seems to be the way of the world at the moment. And people are going to have to get used to bouncing around like I did. Like, I feel like in the sort of formative years of my employment, the 4 to 5 year stint was pretty typical of a lot of people. But then that sort of 5-6 year segment afterwards, where I bounced around and did 6, 7, 8 jobs, that was kind of uncommon while I was doing that. And yet now that's becoming more and more common. Like, you stay at a place for a year, 2 years, and then you have to move on, or you move on, you're moved on. I don't like that. I think that the fact that you offer things to a company that extend beyond what's on your CV, like just what you're like to work with, like I think that's an underrated trait. Like what you like to work with. Are you the kind of person that comes in every day with a long face and makes everyone else's problem, or can you come in and brighten up a place? You know what I mean? That's something you can't gauge on a CV, but it's also something recruiters aren't going to try and gauge in you. That's something that will either become apparent with time or not. And it's stuff like, it's the human element of things that's slowly being whittled down and diminished, which is why I would implore you, as I have successfully, and I hope if you've already done this, great. If you haven't, then you need to try and be cognizant of this going forward. Remember, you're a human, and you're sellable in more ways than what's on a piece of paper, right? Remember, you can have your own ideas, and you can present things, and you can understand things in a different way and present them as such, and hopefully that'll be enough to carry you through the day. It's not enough just to go in and try and tick boxes to fulfill a criteria to get into something. Sometimes you need to define it for yourself, okay? That way you can set the expectations. You can set the guidelines of what you attribute to success. In my case, for instance, I have very simple criteria. I want a strong boss. I want very clearly defined parameters about what is and isn't acceptable as far as my role and what is successful is concerned. And I want to know that if I put in the graft, that it will be rewarded. I'm not working at places necessarily just because I need a paycheck. I want to be here because I want to be here. I want to be here because what I do matters and I have the ability to contribute. And what I say has merit, not just because, oh, well, you know, we want to hear what everyone has to say. Yet not everyone's entitled to an opinion at certain points in these practices, my friends. I've got to be a little bit un-PC when I say this. When it comes to a work environment, there are people that don't deserve an opinion because they don't know what they're talking about. And it doesn't matter how much they're being paid. It doesn't matter their position in a company. It doesn't matter their own sense of self-importance. I've been at businesses in the past where people have walked in the door with 2 months experience who are given free rein to make decisions about companies that they know fucking nothing about, because their CV said they did a commensurate job at another place. Sorry, that doesn't cut the mustard for me. A smart person knows what they don't know a lot of the time, or a wise person knows what they don't know. But in current work climate, it's all about you've got to have done it to do it. Bollocks. That's literally how nothing's ever worked ever. You choose people based on their attributes, and that's both on a personal level and what they've achieved. People are not numbers. They are not pieces of paper with the words curriculum vitae written on them. Unfortunately, if them's the rules of the game going forward, you're going to have to utilize the avenues at certain choke points to get ahead. And I wanted to talk about this because I think it's going to become prevalent in the next couple of years, specifically for people who aren't expecting it right now in jobs that they thought would have been otherwise secure. Jobs that they've had for years. At companies that do pretty well. But maybe there's a merger. Maybe there's a takeover. Maybe your company takes a nosedive because the industry suddenly gets cut off by AI or some other unknown technology that just completely usurps the marketplace. And I wish I could say to people it's okay to feel secure for now. I just think that at the moment, people need to be aware that there's a distinct and real possibility that in the coming years, the job market is going to shift inexorably towards really temporary turnover. At which point, in order to salvage any kind of security or any kind of consistency and contingency in your employment, it's going to become who you know, not what you know. And it's also going to become how good are you at selling yourself. It's not going to be what you are on a CV. It's also going to be how intuitive you are at sensing an opportunity. Me, for instance, it's very difficult for me to not go down there the day of an interview in a suit and tie with a pad and make notes while I'm walking about the place waiting for the interview. I'll talk to the receptionist at the gate. I'll talk to the security guard. I'll check the facilities. Like, is there cracks in the walls and stuff like this? Show an interest. You know what I mean? But that's all. It's just advice. Okay? Take it or leave it. I just think that we're entering a very weird time in our history where hard work, graft, and the character that's supposed to cement a person's position because they're trustworthy, loyal, and you know they'll do a good job, are immaterial to someone that just looks at a spreadsheet with a bunch of names and how much they cost. And I think that's becoming more and more the case. And so I would implore you, right now, look at your CV, look at how you can tailor it, obviously, but also just maybe rethink about how you would present yourself in certain situations and how you can network for the time being. Maybe look at your work and the industry you're in and look at how secure it is. A lot of times, some of these decisions are taken out of your hands. Doesn't matter how secure you feel you are. There's some weird happenstance that takes it out of your hands, and you need to be ready for it. It's like COVID in a way. It's not enough to sit here innocently and think that it's all going to be okay. Sometimes you need to preemptively take action to make sure you're okay, because when it comes down to it, these companies don't give a flying fuck about you when it's deadline time and they're drawing a line to their expenses for the term for the fiscal year. So I want to talk about that because, again, it's been bugging me about the disability thing, and obviously there's, it feels like every 5 minutes there's another takeover, or there's another merger, or there's another fucking director being paid $20 million. Meanwhile, they're laying off 5,000 people. And it bothers me. So I just wanted to talk about that very, very briefly, because it's one of those things that I just think, man, I really hope you're all okay. I'm okay for now, but you never know. This is the problem. You just don't know at the moment. So yeah, I hope you're all okay. But anyways, let's bring it to an end there. I'm going for about an hour. I will let you know as soon as I know about what's happening with P, what's happening with Bobby, what's happening with Lunar. Cammy will be next week. I will look into, now that I know, I will look into Disaster. That'll be a big one. Censor and Shocks the Rebel. So we'll see what happens with those. I'll let you know if I get a yes from them. That's when I'll post something. Hopefully, if I get a date and a time, I'll let you know. Otherwise, it should be a pretty steady stream of content going for the next month or two, because I'm going to be doing the segments for some of the previous interviews that I've done. So you'll see that you'll have seen them if you've seen the interviews, but I like making sure the segments are there in case you haven't seen the full interview, but maybe there's a part of it you didn't know was in there that you get to see, and it's hopefully cool. And yeah, there might be a couple of live streams in between now and then. Who knows? We'll see. But otherwise, I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about on this live stream. So thank you very much to everyone that joined me. Charlie, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Rocky, thank you very much for joining me. Hylas, thank you very much for joining me again. And yeah, I think that'll about do it. So mine has been Lorne Risley, host of the Halcyon Show. Thank you very much for joining me. Stay tuned. Please be sure to follow me on Twitter. You can hop over to Instagram if you like. I do post there sometimes. It's just I'm toying with whether or not to get rid of that or not yet. We'll see. Stay tuned as well, because the interviews are getting a revamp in terms of how they look and sound going forward. I'm still working on music. I'm talking to someone soon about maybe developing some music for me, so it's bespoke to the channel. But you're going to see a new intro, new backing that's more reminiscent of this live stream background, albeit it'll be slightly amended to reflect the fact that it's an interview. But that'll be on the next interview that I do, so whenever that happens. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. Sorry about the weird start to this live stream. It was fucking with me for some reason, as always. Hence why I don't do the interviews live. It's just not worth the risk. I'll always pre-record those because I don't want to lose them. So yeah, I thank you very much for joining me. I sincerely hope you're taking care of yourselves. And I guess I'll see you on the next episode of The Halcyon Show.